This episode is marked explicit for trigger warnings, discussions of suicide, murder, and drug abuse. Guys, this is a super fun interview with our PR manager, Steve Joyner. And listen, you're not going to want to miss that post-credit scene, so make sure you listen to the very end because we got a surprise for you. All right, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. NNF After Dark is brought to you by Sandpiper Vacations. For all of your vacation planning needs, visit www.sandpipervacations.com. Tell them that the No New Friends podcast sent you.
Welcome to NNF After Dark. Chris is going to take you through the highlights of the previous episode and maybe even say some bad words, plus celebrity interviews and much, much more. And now, here he is, the scumbag reselling hoarder himself, Chris Yob.
Welcome to No New Friends After Dark, where we are peeling back the onion of life, changing the world one episode at a time. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second to flip through these notes. Okay, that's the only bullshit that Scott's making me say this week. Okay, so this, like I said, this is No New Friends After Dark. I am alongside Virtual Studio. What virtual studio am I in, you might ask? Sandpiper Vacation Studio. Head over to sandpipervacations.com for all of your traveling needs. Might be my shortest intro of all time. Not sure yet. It's not over yet. I'm alongside Virtual Studio with Scott from the No New Friends podcast. Nick is now from the No New Friends podcast, but also Sandpiper Vacations.
I get two titles.
You get two titles. You're our emotional support gay, which we did not mention in our Wednesday episode.
We didn't.
Yeah, Scott, you've
I'll
dropped
do
the
that.
ball.
I introduced him as the emotional support gay. What else do we have to mention?
I don't remember.
That was also 3 drinks ago, Scott. So if you did do it, I didn't know. We are also joined with a person that I'd like to call Steve. People close to him call him Steve as well. Steve,
hello.
How the hell are you doing tonight?
I'm a little. I'm tired, but I'm here. How are you guys doing?
That's what I say every day of my life. Actually, I say it to my wife. I say it to my employees. I'm tired, but I'm here. It's very. Relatable.
I hear I'm tired a lot from my wife, but for usually trying to make a move and
tired,
it doesn't really work out.
Headache, my time of the month.
Exactly.
It's all the same to Scott.
Insert excuse here.
I before we get started with this interview episode, whatever you might want to call it, experience journey, I do want to tell everybody that I am going to have to tag team this with Scott because in the 90s, Michael Jackson, oh my gosh, Michael Jordan ate a bad pizza and turned into what he has called the flu game. Did play an NBA Finals game with what has been it might have been the flu, might have been food poisoning, we don't know. I'm kind of experiencing that. For those who don't know, I did tear my Achilles tendon.
Oh my god. How long is this going to be going on?
Well, listen, Scott, I got my cast off today and it feels really weird. It's not even that it hurts, it's just like the wind hitting the area that the cast was on for the last 2 weeks just feels weird. So this is my flu game because I got a weird feeling in my foot.
It's only been 2 weeks. Jeez, it feels like
it's I got ice on it. It's a little swollen.
So you tore your Achilles.
I did, Scott. Would you like to hear the story?
No, I don't. I want to get to our guest. It's way past his bedtime.
Fine,
and he's given us his time.
Fine. Scott is gracious.
Are you feeling better? Are you feeling better, Chris?
Thank you for asking, Steve.
God. I broke my leg, and the coolest thing was how white and skinny and creepy it looked. You got that?
It's very, very white and skinny and creepy. That is the perfect. If you look at my,
come on, bring it up. What do we got?
It's pretty bad. It's got look, I got some razor burn because they shaved my leg. Yeah, got the razor burn.
Like an albino Ethiopian leg.
Well, your entire leg's very white, though.
but you know what?
There's like dead skin and itches.
Yeah, it's horrible. Oh, it's horrible. I don't know why your skin just starts to fall off after a couple weeks in a
There's
cast.
no
It just starts to
air.
fall
There's
off.
no air. There's no air. There's nothing. It dies.
Yeah, the skin just like, fuck you, I'm leaving. Like, this is not
Yeah.
even like, even my skin's abandoning me.
They told you don't stick a coat hanger down there or whatever. 'cause
Yes,
it
they
itches
told me
and stuff.
not.
Yes.
And
And the
you're supposed to do the
summertime is the
opposite.
worst because you're sweating and it's miserable.
Oh, it's horrible.
My
That's why,
condolences.
yeah. That's why I vacationed to Alaska, because I knew I was going to get this injury. I was like, I gotta get the hell out of here.
I mean, this is a sad story right here. Chris, we should call my uncle who was in Vietnam and run this little tale by him. I'm sure he can relate, 18 months in the bush, but I'm just kidding. No, breaking a bone is weird because I heard that when you break a bone, and I have broken a bone, that even when you die, they can x-ray and see, it's never the same. You break something, they cast it together, but there's like a thin line or something. There's always an indication of you broke a bone.
No, fuck that. I'm burning my body. I don't want anyone doing X-rays on my post.
No, I did. My parents are cremated. My brother was too. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, I don't want them to do X-rays on me post whatever. I don't know.
No, that's what I heard though. When they do an autopsy,
Makes sense.
I met a guy named Thomas Noguchi, and he was a LA County medical examiner for many, many years. He wrote a book in the 80s called The Coroner, and he did the autopsy of John Belushi, Natalie Wood, Marilyn Monroe, a lot of famous people this guy did. And he was the one that told me he went into Sharon Tate's house after the murder. And this guy asked this guy, I said, "What's the creepiest part of your job?" He said, "Well, when I walk into a room, I don't look at the body." I said, "You don't look at the body?" He said, "No, I look all around. I look at the ceiling, at the window, if there's like a bullet or whatever." But the way this guy talked about forensic science was really fascinating. It was really, really fascinating how he found out that Belushi had died of an overdose was he grabbed his arm and he squeezed it, and there was a little drop of blood that popped up. He said, "Oh, he shot up."
Wow.
That's crazy.
Steve, why haven't I interviewed this guy yet?
He's dead. Belushi's dead. Scott.
No, not Belushi, the doctor.
No. Thomas Noguchi. If you look at if any one of you guys are by Google right now, look up a book called The Coroner, and it's written by Thomas Noguchi, and he was a medical examiner in Los Angeles. He got fired for reporting that William Holden had fallen and hit his head, and when Natalie Wood died. This is over 40 years ago. But yeah, very fascinating guy. But he said if the body moves and you got to worry, there's a friend of mine who lives in your state, matter of fact. His name is Bill Superfoot Wallace, and Bill is a martial artist, and he broke into films. But Bill was one of Elvis's karate instructors. So Mike Stone was the guy that Elvis hired for Priscilla. Bill was Elvis's karate instructor, and he always says with celebrities he's 2-0 because Bill was the guy that discovered Belushi dead. He was hired to get Belushi in shape for an upcoming movie. And then that's how I met Thomas Noguchi. It's a domino effect with me in life. It's a domino effect.
Okay. Before we get too far, I was gonna make a joke about how I'm gonna cremate myself because I don't know what Scott and Nick are gonna do with my body after I die. Because Scott's unhinged and Nick may be unhinged too. I've known him for like 6 months. I don't know yet. But Steve, you're too like. Why the fuck are you so interesting? Who people are asking. A lot of people are talking. Who the fuck is Steve Joyner? Why do you know the people that you know? Why are you the way that you are? Why, where did this domino effect start?
I'll tell you. So I'm not interesting, and I thank you for the compliment, but I'm not really interesting. I grew up in Southern California. I'm a native. I live in the Southeast now. And one of my best friends, you all have interviewed, it was Carl Gottlieb, the screenwriter of Jaws.
Great guy.
And Carl's like an uncle to me. I literally, he's one of my closest friends on earth. Well, I didn't know what a podcast was. I had no interest in radio shows or podcasts. I mean, honestly, I listened to radio for music. I would hear talk radio, but it was like Rush Limbaugh or Stern. And right when I heard their voices, I turned them off. I wasn't interested in hearing. I remember like the Morning Zoo and stuff. It was like they had one show I liked. It was called The War of the Roses, where they would screw with people, and But other than that, I never really got into it. So about 7 years ago, damn near 7 years, I had booked Carl and Joe Alves, who was a production designer on Jaws, and Richard Dreyfuss, the actor, at an autograph show. And a guy in Boston, a Facebook friend of mine, hit me up. He said, I'd love to interview them. They filmed Jaws and Martha's Vineyard, And he said, can I get on a phone call with you? I said, sure. And he's like, yeah, I do a podcast. I'm like, what's that? He told me what it was. So I called up Richard and Carl and them. I said, they'd like to interview you. Richard had no interest in it. Joe was going on a trip. Carl's like, sure, I'll do it. And then the guy hits me up 2 weeks later, and he said it was amazing. Thank you so much. And I guess he'd gone on my page and seen me with some people he'd recognized from movies or TV or whatever the hell. And he said, I'd like to interview all these people. I said, great, I need a job. He said, well, I don't really have a budget. I'm like, well, okay, fine. And then I talked to Carl shortly after. He said, well, you do know a lot of people. He says, why don't you see what's out there? So I did. And in the last 7 years, it's been a journey. I mean, I've worked with great shows like you guys, and it's fun to me. It's fun for me to get people together. I like, we live in a country that gets off on driving people apart. They just want to divide. But I try to look for the similarities, not the differences.
Yeah.
But the problem is this country is all about, well, you think this way, I think that way. We can never be friends. Can I cuss?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fucking lame, man. I don't care about politics. Neither one of those guys are paying our bills. And if someone lives a different lifestyle than I am, but we both like Jaws, well, hey, we have something in common. And then it turns out we have something else in common. You know what I'm saying? People just, so I like putting things together, and I've been lucky enough to work with great people like Scott and you guys and put some cool stuff together. But how did I meet all the people I met? It's just life. If you guys lived in a town where the Florida Marlins, the majority of them live there, and it just happens. I don't know how to explain it. And since I started booking shows, oh my God, I've had fun times. I've had miserable times. I don't know. So there's nothing really special except for the fact that I'm just one of those people that incidentally had met a lot of people in my life and then was able to put them on platforms like this.
Well, you sell yourself. You are a special guy, and to give our listeners some context, Steve is our PR guy. Steve gets us all these interviews that everybody's enjoyed, and Steve's goal is just to make these connections, and he's always looking out for us and getting us these names, and it's been an amazing kind of addition to our show and kind of spawned adding the second episode of the week. Steve, so when we interviewed Eddie Deason a couple weeks ago, he mentioned I've heard of him. You've heard of him. Yes. He mentioned that he lives with you. What is it like living with Eddie?
See, this is why I don't do interviews right here, because people never want to know about me. They want to know about the people.
Not true at all. We're gonna get deep into you. Everybody.
No. What's it like living with me or living with Eddie Deason? I don't know. It's I've known the guy for years, and he's like a brother to me, and he's a character, he can test the
He's
last
like 40
nerve.
characters.
Yeah, he's a trip, and he's a good guy. He and I share something really weird in common. His mother, we were both mama's boys. We both had great moms, and his mother died a year ago, and he was in a hospital when she died. When my mom died, I was actually in jail, so we weren't able to be with our mothers when they died. So that's a weird little bond we have, is that we both had kind of survived that, and went through that. So what's it like living with him? We hang out, he's cool. We go to the library. He likes to go out to eat a lot. I've gained like 20 pounds since he lived at my house. But he's, he's
Chris,
cool.
are you friends with Eddie Deason as well?
I wish that was my excuse. Yeah, I wish that was my excuse, was just living with Eddie Deason. Yeah, I gained 40 pounds.
No, he's good. He's cool. I mean, just I have to remind him a couple things. It's just, it's like having a roommate,
Yeah. So, Steve, you just mentioned, and this is a brilliant segue. I love how these things work out. That first of all, all these celebrities, which is so cool. Us as regular people, we're like, oh, I want to know celebrities. You know them all, and you know a lot of them. You know a lot of them, and you live with Eddie. But there's
Eddie lives with me.
Eddie lives with you. Sorry, Eddie lives with you.
That
yes.
right.
Yes, Eddie lives with you.
Yeah.
but there's a lot more to Steve. There's a lot more of the background. And because we kind of peel back the layers of life here and we keep things real, I want to give you an opportunity to kind of tell your story, because there's a lot there. And these guys don't know the amount of things that you've been through in the past. And I wanted to give you kind of an opportunity to talk about that, because it's amazing kind of the things that you've gone through in your life and where you are now.
I mean, well, we all have been through a lot, you know, I mean, and I don't diminish anybody's tragedies and say, well, you didn't go through as much. It's not a contest.
Right.
And I'm of the age where I don't care who likes me or who doesn't. I am 47 years old and I have survived every one of my family members. Wow. My parents, my brothers, my sister, everything. I've outlived them all. And it fucking sucks, man. My dad died young when he's 59. My mom died 10 years ago. My brother died in 2020. My sister died last year. She actually lived in Lake Wales, Florida.
Okay.
We're going down there.
Good old Polk County.
Yeah, Hicksville. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. But anyway, I actually got the key to the city when I was down there because I was the only guy that had all of his teeth. But no, she died, and then I don't have any children, and so I've had a lot of just tragedies and deaths in my life. And my nephew was murdered when he was 6. I've been through a lot of gnarly shit, man.
Wow.
And you know what? I don't want to bring down the mood of life, but you know, you guys have been interviewed a lot of great people, and you know, as far as the term celebrity and all that, you know, Larry Hankins says hi, by the way.
Oh, we love Larry.
But Larry likes you guys a lot. But I talked to him earlier. I said I was doing a show. He said, right on. He said, tell him, hey, I got a new book coming out. So, but I don't look at it like that. When I was younger, I would see somebody like, oh my God, I grew up watching this, and I would nerd out on them. But I also, for me, with your guys' shows and a lot of shows, I could see a Larry or an Eddie or whatever, and that's cool. But then next week, see a Tanya Gilbert or somebody, you know, like that, and still be as moved by, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's not really a contest of like your name is bigger than that. I mean, good for that, but I don't minimize anything. You guys have interviewed people that are going to become giants, you know, and so I don't know. You know. I just think that everybody has a story. Mine has been rough, you know, and I had a great mom. I was raised by a single mom. My parents divorced when I was 10. My mom got out alive. My dad was very vicious. He was a very well-off man, and he used to beat my mom like an animal. And you know, it was a rough childhood. It was really rough, and I was homeless when I was 10. My mom and I were. My dad lost our house, the IRS. Forgot to tell us about it. We come home, there's a padlock on the door. So there's no pictures of me as a kid that I know of anywhere. They got taken by the IRS. We moved into an apartment, and my mom taught me never to put value in material possessions, but yes, in people. Honestly, anything good about me came from my mom, you know, and I don't mean to you know, piss on my dad's memory, but it was pretty rough. My mom was an amazing woman. I miss her every fucking day. And so for me, it's like I try to do the best I can, but I'm not a saint. You know, like I said, for the last 7 years, I've worked with a lot of podcasts, and I've had crosswords with them. I haven't been the greatest person, but I try to work with people I like dealing with. And Scott has been a mensch, a really great person. But we all survive things, you know. I don't know.
So
I don't do interviews that much. So
this has been great. Steve, we deal a lot on this podcast with anxiety, depression. For those listening at home, we deal with both of those things, or one or the other. You've been through a lot. Obviously, in the last 3 minutes has been like a roller coaster.
Well, I mean, just to skim over my life, you know. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, all that being said, you did touch on in the beginning, you love bringing people together. I'm not sure if that's the answer to this question or not, but what keeps you going? What keeps you pushing forward to continue your legacy, to continue making people happy, to continue just doing what you do?
I guess because you know what? I know I can't answer that. Every new day alive, if we wake up tomorrow's promised to nobody. But when we wake up, we could wake up pissed and ornery and be like, you know what, fucking everything's horrible and all that, or we can try to make something good. And it's all mindset. I saw a quote one time. I don't know who wrote it or what it's from, but it said like love more than any hate you've ever, basically love more than any hate you've ever dealt, something to that extent.
Mhm.
And if you let anger become your master, you're going to be nothing but fucking miserable and make other people miserable. But the thing is, I've gotten too old, and I think before I act. 10 years ago, May of 2023, my mom died. And a week before she died, I was put in jail looking at 2 years in prison. I'd never been to jail in my life. I was driving her home one day from a cardiologist. She had a pacemaker and a stent, and she was in horrible shape. And the cardiologist said, we may have to do another, a stent. Now, I was trying to quit smoking. I was taking these pills called Chantix. I was taking these pills called Xanax, about 6 of them a day. I was a fucking train wreck, man. And my mom's dying. And I'm at a stoplight with her up by San Diego State University. And these two guys are walking by, and one of them said, "What are you looking at?" To my mom, and he said a few other choice words. And I pulled up on the curb and beat the hell out of one of them and then drove off. 2 days later, I got arrested and I couldn't bond out of jail. And then I didn't hear from my mom for about 2 weeks. I knew something was wrong. And then the guard told me she died. And I will never forgive myself for any of that. I wish I could have kept driving. I will never forgive myself as long as I live for that. So I talked to the coroner. I did 6 months in jail for assault with great bodily injury. Paid a big fine, did probation. I didn't think. I just acted. And at first I tried to blame the pills. No, it was me. I mean, yeah, that didn't help, but whatever, it happened. But the coroner told me my mom would have passed anyway. She died in her sleep peacefully, but I never had a proper goodbye. So I'd lived with that for many years. My brother, he was on heroin. He died of a heroin overdose on the streets of San Bernardino. My sister died from heart failure from years of drug use. The point is that I can't go back and change history. However, Eddie was going through something similar where he was in a hospital. His mom died. He didn't know where to go to. And I said, well, man, just come live at my house. And I went and got him. And he's doing great now. You guys interviewed him. He's doing great. Mm-hmm. We're doing autograph shows. He's got 3 lined up in November, and he's doing great. So I'm able to help out somebody that was in a position that I was in at one time. And so maybe it's little things like that keep me going.
Yeah.
I don't make a lot of money doing what I do. Scott can tell you about that. I don't.
Right.
But you know what? There's things more valuable than money. As weird as a cliche as that sounds, there's things more important than money. People think that's, and I guess maybe that's to answer your question. That's what keeps me going, is to know that I can do something good. I'm not going to change the world. None of us are, but we can leave some type of dent, and I guess that's what keeps me going, is knowing that I can do something good,
Yeah. And, that's what I admire about you, Steve, is, and I'm not going to go into detail about the present, but no matter what you have going on, you still take time out of your day to reach out to me. Hey, how's it going? I've got this person I want you to meet. I got this person. By the way, I've got XYZ going on in my life. And also you've been so super encouraging. Anytime, summer is a rough period for us. Our numbers go down and I'm like, we're just a little podcast. And I remember you scolded me once, Steve. I don't know if you remember that, but you're like, never call yourself a little podcast. He's like, you guys are a big deal. You guys are good. And I've just always admired your positivity when it comes to other people and wanting to help other people.
Yeah, but I'm good at doing that, but horrible at doing it for myself. That's my problem.
You're one of those people, Steve. You're one of those people that you put everybody else ahead of you. You're just one of those people that it's just in your nature.
Well, there's one quote that I know is from Albert Pike, and basically he says, "What we have done for ourselves dies with us. What we have done for others in the world is immortal. It goes on forever." And that was that's actually very accurate. I do believe in that. You're going to interview Brad Jones, right?
We interviewed him yesterday.
Yeah. Do you know what type of mammoth that is? Do you guys all know who you interviewed? I mean, I was so excited.
Yeah, that was a great interview.
For anybody who's hearing this or seeing this or whatever, go look at Brad Jones, the Cinema Snob, and watch your episode. And when you see the Cinema Snob, if you see one video that's under 1,000 views, it's on him. Brad is a man, and he's a great guy. He's funny. He's really funny. I don't know what you guys talked about, but the dude is funny. He's cool, and he's a great guy. He's one of the nicest people I know.
Yeah, he's super nice guy. That was a super fun interview, and we had one of our other co-hosts on who knows like weird, obscure movies, and they were able to discuss. I know,
that's right up Brad's alley. Yeah.
They were able to discuss that at great length.
And it was funny was I didn't know Brad Jones. I used to watch the Cinema Snob. I was a fan of it.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know him. And then I have a friend, Mike White, who does the Projection Booth podcast. And Mike said he knew him. I said, dude, I need to meet him. He said, sure. And Brad called me up. We talked for 3 hours.
Wow.
And then I nerded out, and because Brad's humor is dark and he's funny, and we're talking the same language. And he's you interviewed him. He's a very intelligent guy, and he looks at the absurdity of things. And so, yeah, I'm glad that happened. And if you spawn that on YouTube and ask him to do a plug, you guys that's gonna be a very downloaded episode for you guys.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun. We also appeared on Fabian's podcast last night. That was super fun. Nick and I had a lot of fun with Fabian. Chris, you got any more? You got another question?
No, I have plenty more to ask in the second segment, Scott.
Okay, well then why don't you take us to the second segment?
Well, then on that note, let's get to the hope you guys enjoy these commercials. We'll be right back with the New Friends Podcast After Dark. There are 3 things that I hate in life: taxes, nausea, and booking vacations. The first 2 I'm stuck with, but for the third, I use Sandpiper Vacations. Sandpiper Vacations is a small business that is LGBTQ+ owned and operated with travel advisors all over the country. Whether it's a cruise, a trip to a theme park, or an all-inclusive resort, Sandpiper has you covered. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it's free. Why book a vacation when you can have someone else do it for you? That's like choosing to take the stairs in a building that has an elevator. Leave the headaches of booking a vacation to someone else. Get your quote today at www.sandpipervacations.com and tell them that the No New Friends podcast sent you.
Hey everybody, it's Scott from the No New Friends podcast. If you'd like to hear all of our episodes, all of our past episodes, just visit our website, nonewfriendspodcast.com. All of our links to all of our old episodes are there. If you didn't understand an inside joke or just wanted to re-listen to something, just check it out. It's nonewfriendspodcast.com, or you can check us out on all streaming platforms.
You know what I noticed about commercials recently? Have you, I guess it's always been this way, but I never really thought about it. You know, they'll have like a pill and it's for insomnia, right? Mm-hmm. Or it's for something minor like a flu or a cold. But the side effects were like, holy shit! You know what?
Yeah,
I'll take insomnia. I'll take
insomnia. I don't want anal leakage that comes along with it.
Give me herpes. My eyes are gonna bleed. You know, they say it's so quick too. You know that. You know, and death
might
may
cause
occur.
That. Yeah, might cause that every time.
You know, it's always some asshole riding a bike smiling. It's like, no, this guy's gonna be in fetal position in the bathroom. Come on, you know. I'd like to get Eddie on like a hemorrhoid commercial or something.
Oh my god!
Right?
Yeah,
you suffer from high hemorrhoids. If you're like me, I can't sit down. I'd love to get some like that.
That was gold.
That was one of the best episodes, one of the best podcasts I ever booked Eddie on. I booked Eddie on Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast a few years ago.
Oh my gosh!
Look, sadly, we lost Gilbert a year ago, and Gilbert was a great guy. But my friend Frank Santapadre, he was Gilbert's producer, and I got Eddie on his show. If you want to hear a funny episode, listen to Gilbert and Eddie talk for an hour. You need a stiff drink. It is.
Yeah, I have less than a choice now. I have to look this up.
Right?
So Eddie, what's going on with you? Oh well, Gilbert it's these 2 little Jews talking it up.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Got the Aflac duck and the annoying kid from Polar Express.
Oh yeah, it's wild. If you ever want to upset an in-law or friend, take a road trip and just put that on there. And let them
All Normally what I would say is I hope you enjoyed those commercials, but actually I hope you enjoyed that banter because Scott just informed me that we're going to keep all that banter in. So I really hope you enjoyed that last 2 minutes of unscripted banter. The whole thing's unscripted. Or is it? I don't know. You tell me. Steve, you have a UCLA hat. Are you just a huge Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fan, or did you actually go there?
I am proud to say that I have been to their bookstore and I purchased this hat and I left. And I'm a fan. I'm a fan of their athletic program, but I'm having a bad hair day, and I noticed I'm wearing a light blue shirt, and this is light blue, so I'm trying to color coordinate.
I respect the move. Something
You know what the great thing is when you wear a hat like this and you're my age, people just assume like you're an alumnus. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
And no, yeah, you did. No, I barely made it through high school, man. They're like, here, you're older than our substitute. Just get the hell out of here, you know. But you know what else I noticed? This is kind of funny, guys. I was in Kansas City a couple years ago. I was split up from my wife, and I bought a skateboard for my friend's son, and he was like 11, and I bought this badass skateboard. And I used to skate a long time ago, and I sucked. I was a horrible skater. But I got the skateboard, and I'm at the mall, and I'm calling a lift, and I'm waiting there for my lift, and this group of teenagers come by. They're pointing and shit. They're like, "Hey, man, you skate?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm an old dude, right? And I guess in their mind, because I'm old and I got a skateboard, he must be fucking really good, you know? Because you think an old guy with a skateboard
like
is
fucking
good,
Tony
right?
Hawk.
Exactly, right? And they're like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." I used to skate, you know. And I'm just lying about it. My skateboarding days. They're like, "Can you show us something?" I'm like, "No, dude, I got a bail. Plus, you know, my Achilles, you know, I got an injury." I'm like, "But you know,
Chris knows about that.
Keep chasing your dream, little brothers." I fucking lied, but you know, maybe one of them went on. But they asked me if I knew, who was it? Not Tony Hawk, some other skater, and I'm like, taught him everything he knew. That was my answer. Lied, but I'm holding a skateboard. Yeah, you know.
I don't believe you. Just X-ray my bones when I'm dead. You'll see all the breakings and everything.
Yeah. No, my skateboarding career ended when I was 10. I was crossing a street, and it was November 1985 or 6, and my friend's grandmother ran me over with a Buick, and I quit skating. Yeah, but I bought
That's
the skateboard.
another thing you and Eddie have in common. You've both been run over by cars.
Eddie got run over by a car?
Yeah,
Way
Paul
more famous
McCartney.
person.
Paul McCartney drove over his foot.
His foot got a rubber. I got hit by a Buick, had 80 stitches in my head. No,
Oh
it was
my
a whole
God.
different day.
It's a little worse. A little worse.
That Paul McCartney story. That's true, but that's what ended my skateboarding. But I've noticed that it's all perception. I sound like Larry Hankin now. It's all perception. But no, if you're a middle-aged guy holding a skateboard, any one of you get a skateboard and hold on to it, look, people are like, "Oh man, that dude must be really good. He's bald. He's got a skateboard." I'm telling you, it's a mental mindset.
Scott was taking notes there. I saw.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Scott, buy a skateboard. Steve,
like,
one word of advice. At least say it was fucking Ringo Starr, not someone's grandma running you over. Eddie's got
my friend Richard E. Rafferty's grandmother ran me over. God bless. I don't know. There's nothing exciting. I don't have any. Do I have any weird? I got a weird story for you.
Let's hear it.
I've actually never told this story to anybody.
Oh,
an exclusive right here
Breaking
on this
news.
podcast.
Did any of you guys ever watch wrestling?
yes, I still to this day.
Like back in the day. I mean, a long time ago.
My age.
I watched in the 80s, 90s.
I watched more for their speedos that they wore, but different reasons. But
so no, it is a very homoerotic sport if you get down to it. You know. But anyway, it's funny if you real quick, if you look at Brad Jones's review of Urban Cowboy, he says it's the most gayest movie, and it really is like a gay movie if you think about it. Look at Urban Cowboy. You know, Harvey. Who was it? Who was it?
Harvey Weinstein would have been like a rapey.
No. The guy with the voice, Firestone.
Firestone.
Did you guys interview Firestone? He said, "Look at Top Gun." He said, "Just read the dialogue. It's a very gay movie."
Yes, the whole volleyball scene.
Yeah, he said it's a homoerotic movie. So, so here's a story about wrestling. I went to my mom for my birthday in 1991. I went to the San Diego Sports Arena to a wrestling match, and she bought me tickets. And I found out that the wrestlers were staying across the street at the hotel. And I got there 4 hours early. So this was back when like the bad guys the heels would stay at one hotel. And they kayfabe. They
Oh,
really
no way,
acted like,
really?
yeah, they really. And I remember
That's
meeting
awesome.
the British Bulldog and a lot of old
British
guys. Anyway,
Bulldog. Wow.
so the girl at the front desk, I went up there. I said, "Look, I'm a really big fan of wrestling, and I got 2 months to live." And she's like, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I have like a rare form of whatever." I said, "I'd really like to meet a wrestler." She gave me a list of all the wrestlers and what room they were staying in. I swear to God, and I'm a 13-year-old kid, and I told her I had like some. But anyway, so the first name on there, it was their real names, not their gimmick names. So my plan was to walk the door and say, "Hi, whoever you are." You can laugh, it's funny, and I'm so and so, and I'm dying. I always want to meet you. So
Fucking the first ever Make-A-Wish kid.
yeah.
Steve invented Make-A-Wish.
This hotel was for heels, so I'm going to bad guys, right? The first name on there was a guy named Mark Calloway.
Oh my gosh, The Undertaker.
Yeah, and he had just debuted 4 months earlier. I go up, and I was a very white kid, and I knock on the door, and I'm like meekish looking. This fucking giant opens the door, and he's wearing his black suit and his thing, and he looks at me, his eyes, and I'm all, "Oh shit, you're the Undertaker." I'm all, "Hi, sir." He's all, "Is there something you want?" I'm like, "My name's Steven. I'm really ill." And I said, "I've always wanted to meet you." I said, "I know you're really a bad guy and you're busy and all that." He said, "Oh my God." And I started talking to the Undertaker. On TV, he didn't talk. He was this ghoul thing.
Right.
And I had a conversation with him. And I said, "Can I get an autograph?" He said, and he wrote the Undertaker thing on a little thing and gave it to me, and that was it.
Holy shit.
Wow.
And this is how long ago it was. That night, he was the main event, and he was wrestling the Ultimate Warrior.
Wow.
Gosh.
And then right next door to him was a guy named John Tenta, who was the Earthquake. And so I actually, but when I remember these guys, Tenta had passed away. He was a nice guy, and then the guy over from him, his name was Mike Rotundo, IRS, and his son was Bray Wyatt.
He just passed away, unfortunately. Yeah.
So what was funny was all these quote bad guys were actually really nice guys. And then I realized, okay, but yeah, the Undertaker, and I remember it's spooky when you're a kid. He's a creepy looking guy, but back then he didn't talk, and he had like black stuff under his eyes, and I remember thinking he's going to shut the door on me. He won't hit me. I'm a kid, right? But I know he's no. I'm thinking I knew like he won't hit me. I'm a kid, but I remember he's like, "Well, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Well, I'm sick, sir." And he's like, "Oh," he said, "How bad?" I'm all pretty bad. I'm almost probably my last event, and I talked to him. So yeah, that's the one thing
after his
I don't advise anybody doing that, by the way.
No, I'm not taking notes over here or anything. Steve,
Chris looks like a child with just
shave my beard.
I never saw him again or anything. It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Steve has to tell me that he's never seen him again because he knows that I'm going to ask, "Hey, can I get him on the podcast?"
No. You want to know how long ago it was? His manager was Brother Love. It wasn't even the
oh
other
my
guy.
God, it was Brother Love.
No, this was 1991. This was a long time ago, man.
Yes.
I have an idea, actually. Steve, you can say there's some miracle treatment and you survived, and you're reaching out to him, be like, "Hey, you gave me a shot."
I'm sure I'm sure a lot of people have lied to wrestlers, but that was my weird thing. And then I did, and then 2 years ago, I worked with a guy. Here's how life goes around. 2 years ago, I worked with a guy named Sid Udi, and Sid went by the name Psycho Sid Vicious. He's a big blonde guy, and he wrestled the Undertaker at the main event. I used to book him on podcasts like this.
Oh my God!
Wow. Yeah, he's a bitter son of a bitch. I don't talk to him anymore, but he was really. Oh no! Here's the thing. No, I'm serious. Here's the thing. He lives in Arkansas. I hope he's doing good. But when I set up a podcast or an interview, like an appointment, you show up. And I remember I would sit on the call. You know how, Scott, you and I get on a call. "Hey, Scott, this is so and so, and we talk and we set a date." Okay, cool. Here's the link. Sid would go through that whole routine, then he wouldn't show up. Then the next day he'd call me up and told me. I remember one time he said, "Oh, I had bad sushi." I'm like, "Dude, really? That's your excuse?" So I'm sorry. I don't care who, that was a dick move. So I was like, these people put their time aside. They advertise you, and you didn't show up. And so I just quit messing with him. I hope he's doing good, but yeah, I actually dealt with Sid Udi. Yeah, you know.
Wow.
But
So I would also never trust a guy named Psycho Sid. I would, if he never showed up, I'd understand. I would understand.
I mean, he was a very nice guy. We'd shoot the breeze. He was great. We didn't talk about wrestling. We talked about life. He told me, you know, how Hulk Hogan had sabotaged him, and they're all bitter
Really?
guys.
Can
A lot of them,
can you
the old
elaborate?
guys. He said that well, apparently the plan was Sid was a heel, a bad guy, and then when they brought him into the World Wrestling Federation at the time, is what it was. He was brought in as a good guy, Sid Justice. He said, "I'm not a good guy. I'm a bad guy." And so the Royal Rumble that year, he threw Hogan out, and everybody cheered because it's like every man for himself type thing.
Right.
And then Ric Flair pulled him out. But if you watch, Hogan's pulling his arm, Flair pushes him from back. So Hogan is really the bitch in the match. You know, he's cheating and he's complaining. Oh, you threw me out. It's, you know, and he said backstage, Hogan was crying to Vince about this is the way it should be. He said, "Man, I don't want to work around this. This guy runs everything." Because he thought he'd be groomed to be like the next Hulk Hogan. That's what he thought. He was promised. That's the way he told it. But wrestlers are very unique animals, man. They have, you know, stories, and you don't know what's true or what's not. That's what he told me. He was cheated out of an opportunity.
That's pretty interesting. I'm a big WWE fan, so I get a kick.
Yeah.
Out of it, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean, he told me that, you know, it was, I don't know. He said that when he came back and he wrestled Shawn Michaels.
Oh my god!
And he said even though he was a heel, he was still more popular than Shawn Michaels because people did not like Shawn Michaels as a face. He was a heel. So to see this big guy, beat on him, they're trying to do a Rocky III scenario where he hits his trainer and shit. And but yeah, anyway, but yeah, that's my one thing. I barged in on a bunch. I did that when I was a kid.
Super interesting, man. We might have to have you on every week for the next year, just so we can hear, just so we can hear all your stories. We've gotten the WWE side, and now we got to go to Hollywood. Steve, oh my gosh, what an interesting life partial of your life. I know you haven't explained your whole life to us. It's super fascinating. I'm getting
did when you interviewed Eddie, I didn't hear it. Did he tell you about when he and I accidentally ate marijuana brownies?
Wait, what? No. No. Wake his ass up. This is a combo story.
No. I don't want to get. So what happened was there's a woman named Maxine Wassa, and she's a very, very beautiful woman, and she was in a movie called Savage Beach, excuse me, and she managed bands. She managed a band called the Cox. Yeah, that was the name of the band. So anyway,
you have some experience in that, don't you?
I got experience.
They were gay punk band. It was LA. You know, who cares? But anyway, it was her birthday. So me and Eddie and this guy named Steven Constantino. Steven was one of the Gamorrean guards in Return of the Jedi. and then this other guy, Joe, I can't remember his last name. We drove up. It was in the Hollywood Hills, and we drove to her party. Now, we were going to eat at a place called Jerry's Deli, which was an amazing deli. It's no longer around, but we were pressed for time. So Joe told us, well, there's going to be a food. It's a party. They're going to be doing carne asada, and, you know, it's going to be a kick-ass party. So we're like, cool, we'll go there. At the time, I was working with a radio show called the Jeff and Janky Show. And then my friend Pat Jankowitz and Jeff Sargent, I haven't talked to them in 100 years. They were there. So we get there. They're cooking out back. There's beautiful women walking around. There's guys with long hair. It's an amazing scene. And they're cooking, and Eddie is really hungry and really agitated. And there's this table of treats, and there's a bunch of brownies. And this guy with really long hair, this really happy guy with long hair, he's like, "You guys want some brownies?" And Eddie's all, "Oh God, I like brownies. There's not nuts in them." And he's like, "No, there's no nuts."
Hey guys, I like brownies.
Eddie took two of them and just devoured them, and then I ate one. Okay, brownies. We were full for a minute. We go out back and we're like, "Oh, that carne asada smells good." And we're sitting there. Next thing you know, I look at Eddie and he's talking to me and he's going slow. And I'm like, "Oh fuck!" And I told Max, I'm like, "Hey," she's all, "Hey, I'm glad you guys made it." I'm like, "We ate 2 brownies." She's all, "What happened?" She said, "Those are marijuana brownies." I'm like, "Oh," and I said, "Eddie, those are pot brownies." And Eddie had a panic attack. He said, "Oh my God, we're gonna die." I'm like, "We're not gonna die." So my friend Jeff Sargent, one of the radio guys, I said, Jeff, I said, look, tell Eddie he's not going to die. He's freaking out. And Jeff's Jeff. He said, sure, I'll go tell him. He goes up to Eddie and grabs him by his shoulders. Hey, man, how you doing? Shaking him. And Eddie is just going out of his mind. He calmed him down. It worked out. But yeah, he accidentally digested marijuana brownies. It's weird shit like that.
I accidentally digest them every single night. So
I'm gonna say you tell Nick it was accidentally marijuana brownies. He's gonna run back to get more before anybody else eats them.
There's that a lot of the weird things that have happened to me. Eddie's been around.
I was gonna say, how long have you known Eddie for?
Oh God, 12 years easily.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, he and I got yelled at by Wilford Brimley one time.
Wow.
Scott, you know my Wilford Brimley story.
I don't know your Wilford Brimley story.
Okay. We were at an autograph show in LA, and me and Eddie and Nancy Allen and Tim Matheson. He was in a movie called 1941. It was like a little mini reunion. And right across from us sitting was Lou Ferrigno and Mackenzie Phillips.
God.
And down the way, it's hard to explain, there was Stephanie Powers from Heart to Heart and Wilford Brimley. And there's Wilford with his, Tommy Bahama shit on his hat. It's him, right? And Eddie's voice carries. He's all, Steve, is that her? And I'm like, who? He's all, the girl from Heart to Heart. I'm like, yeah, Stephanie Powers. And he said something to the extent of like, she's gotten old, but he didn't say it. He said like she got long in the tooth, or her time wasn't good. Something he said like that. Next thing I know, Wilford Brimley leans back from his chair and looks right at us. I'm like, dude, he heard us. And he's like, no, he's like 100 years old. He didn't hear us. And then about 10 minutes later, Wilford Brimley comes walking up, and Eddie's all, hey, how you doing? He puts his hand out and he just goes like this. And when in my life, when I talk to somebody and they're like this, it's not a good sign. And he's all, I remember him saying, I couldn't help but overhear what you guys said about the young lady. And Eddie's all, who, her? I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'm all, I didn't say anything. And then Wilford starts talking to us. He says, you guys might want to rethink your situation. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? He says, I was in the Navy during the war. And I'm thinking, he's getting gangster on us. And now we're in a catch-22, because if we fight him and beat him up, we're the guys that beat up everybody's favorite grandfather, right? We're assholes. But if we get beat up by him, we're the jerks that got beat up by the diabetes guy. It's like fighting a girl. There's no winning. So yeah, luckily he left us alone, and God rest his soul.
Wait, he died?
Yeah, he died.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like
3 years
He was supposed to be on next week. Actually.
Stop.
Yeah, screwing with me and Eddie was not the right thing to do, right?
Oh man. on that note, we're gonna head to break real quick. When we get back, we're gonna have maybe we have some.
I do have some summaries.
All right, we're gonna have some Scott summaries and not much more. We're just gonna a little bit more. We'll be right back with No New Friends After Dark.
Hey, you want to join a cult? Well, this might be your lucky day. For just $2 a month and a simple blood oath, you can join our clubhouse and become a friend with benefits. In addition to the amazing feeling of donating to the poor, you will have access to Patreon exclusive content, live shows, and maybe even a behind-the-scenes look at my secret stash. To get started, head on over to NoNewFriendsPodcast.com and hit join our clubhouse. Can't wait to see you at the initiation ceremony. Oh, and in the chat during our live shows, of course.
We are back with No New Friends After Dark. I hope we had a couple more commercials.
You had one more. It was usually Sarah talking about Patreon.
Yep, I'm sure. I think I wrote that one. I think it was. So if I did, yeah, it was pretty damn good commercial.
Poor thing. Some behind the scenes on that, because this is all about pulling the curtain back.
Please.
So I sent her the script. She sends me the recording. And this is like, she's brand new to the show, right? She's been with us for what?
First week.
2 weeks, maybe?
Yeah, if that.
And I sent it back to her. I'm like, okay, this is good, but could you not read it? Because it sounds like you're reading. Like, I'm giving her all this. And she's like, she's like, I spent an hour on that because I knew you were going to be critical. And I was like, yeah, it was cute, but I need it to be this. And she knows me. Steve, Nick got scolded out. This is he got scolded tonight because he was drinking from a metal like mule cup with a metal straw during the episode, and it clinked, and he got scolded.
Daddy got mad.
Yeah, Daddy got mad. So Steve, you wanted to talk about us. So let's talk about me for a little bit. Tell me how pretty I am.
No.
I wouldn't either.
No, like what do you? Okay, no, seriously, like the three of you guys, and it's too bad Sarah's. Sarah's your fourth,
Sarah,
right?
Sarah and Mary don't usually stay up this late. With us, but yeah, Sarah and Mary are with us.
Yeah, we're the guys that need the beauty sleep. Come on now. No, what do you guys, and I know you can't speak for the ladies, but what do you guys like about doing the show? And don't say, I get to talk to fun, interesting people. I mean, I get that, but I mean, I've seen you guys put forth the same energy talking to a Larry Hankin like you would a Tanya Gilbert.
That's a great question.
Because to me, it looks like you guys get together and you have fun.
Yeah. Great question. You know what, Steve? Meeting all these interesting people is just a really cool bonus that we've recently stumbled on since we've met you. But we just love entertaining people. Our Sunday episodes is just all about entertaining people and making people laugh. And we've built this really cool community of listeners that we interact with all the time. And then our Wednesday episode has kind of taken on this whole new thing. And Chris, I'll let you kind of talk about the Wednesday episode.
Yeah. So funny you mentioned Tanya Gilbert, because Tanya Gilbert was by far my favorite thing that I've ever done on this podcast. Probably. Listen,
I'll be sure to tell Carl Gottlieb and Larry about that one. Yeah, you wrote the first summer blockbuster, but he likes the dog lady better. Yeah.
Hey,
one less ticket to Universal for you, pal.
Fair point. I saw Scott.
Be honest.
I see Scott's face. There's nothing more than I love than making people laugh, but to me that comes almost naturally to me. Is I know I can make people laugh, and I do that. I do it on a daily basis. When Tanya came on and was talking about abuse and stuff, I was thrown into this because I host these Wednesday night shows, and it was very different for me. And to be able to navigate that interview and to be able to have a genuine conversation with a genuine human being, like a genuinely amazing, nice human being, was just something that I'll never forget and never take for granted. And that's what I love that I never knew that I loved. I love making people laugh. I always knew that since a young age, but being able to talk to someone and actually, and not just talking to someone, but knowing that the conversation that I was having with this person would resonate with maybe other listeners that have been in her situation. And that's why I love these Wednesday night After Dark episodes where it's like, we can talk about anxiety, which I've suffered with my whole life. We could talk about depression. We can talk about being gay. We can talk about being abused, and it might not resonate with somebody, but it will resonate with somebody else listening to this podcast and getting these messages from people saying, "Hey, I heard this episode and I'm more open. I'm more comfortable. I've seeked therapy. I'm doing this and doing that." That is what I really, really love, that I never knew that I could actually do, that we could actually do as a podcast, because we just make people laugh. We make people forget about their worries. Adding this additional episode on and reaching a different audience, and reaching the audience that maybe laughing and hiding from their pain, maybe kind of resonating. Like, we're not just the funny guys. We also go through stuff.
Okay. So no, I loved what you said, Chris. Now, what about you?
So I just joined pretty recently. So I was on the After Dark episodes first, and now I just joined the Sunday night episodes. And Sunday nights they've always just been super funny, so I love that portion of it. And then, like Chris said, just bringing on some guests that we've had some deep conversations with that might be relatable to me, might be relatable to somebody else. We've had, I haven't had the chance to interview too many people yet, so kind of hearing your story and your stuff that you went through. I dealt with loss of my daughter when she was 3 months old, and so still dealing with that grief. And we're kind of coming up actually next month of her birthday, which for me, every time that her birthday rolls around, she would be turning 7 this year. It's always a rough time. So this podcast has helped me therapeutically to just have these conversations with other people that I can relate to on grief and loss. And everybody's story is different. Everybody has trauma and crap that they've dealt with. And the fact that you've hung out with these celebrities as well too. I've had the privilege of working with some celebrities in my life, and my old manager I consider a celebrity now too, because he's been on Friends, and he was actually in Modern Family for 2 episodes. And now he's on a radio show, which I don't think I've ever talked to Scott about this, but he's on Jeff Lewis Live, if you've heard of him.
Are you holding out at us?
Yeah, what the hell?
I am. Sorry.
Here's what let me make a suggestion for you, and I'm sorry about your loss. My nephew James, he was 6, and he was murdered. I said, when I mean murdered, was my brother and his wife were heroin addicts. And back in 2004, my nephew just turned 6, and he lived in a town in the Imperial Valley in California, out in the middle of nowhere, small community. Anyway, they had methadone, which is what they give heroin addicts to get off heroin, apparently. And somehow in their drugged out brilliance, they thought, oh, we'll give him some. He'll be fine. And they killed him by accident. They never did a day in jail. It was ruled death by misadventure, and he died.
God.
Wow.
It's like giving poison to a child. Now,
Right.
here's what I did, and maybe, this is an idea. I'm not telling you, and I'm so sorry for your loss. I really am.
Okay.
But on your daughter's birthday, may I make a suggestion? What was her favorite color?
She was only 3 months old, so she
Well, pink. She's a little girl, right? Pink?
yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
so I'll go with that.
Pink, little girl. And
Yeah, we had her nursery.
Okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
her nursery is decked out in Minnie Mouse and pink polka dots. So
All right. Here's what I do on my nephew's birthday. Here's what I give it a try. It doesn't hurt, right? Write her a letter. Go get about 12 balloons and tie it up there and send her a letter.
That's really
I
cool.
love that. I love
I
that
did.
a lot.
Eddie did that on his mom's birthday. I told him to write a
we
letter.
actually did. We did lanterns for her a couple of years.
Yeah, but send
the
a
Chinese
letter.
lanterns too.
Send a letter to heaven. I mean, just make it celebrate the life of she existed, and it's.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry she's gone, but she existed.
No, and that's it's one thing we've, I think, briefly talked on it, and I'll probably actually mention it once her birthday rolls around too. But my husband and I since then have remembered her life every single year by giving back to the Ronald McDonald House charities. So we go to Ronald McDonald House on her birthday.
There you go.
And make dinner for families there. And we actually, we usually get a birthday card and a gift card, and we have a room adopted in her name, and we slide the gift card under the door to surprise that family that's there, and just say, this is our gifts to our daughter in heaven, please.
And then do something good for each other too.
Yeah.
Don't you and your husband don't go home and okay, we did this great thing, we're gonna go home and cry and be depressed. You're gonna cry, it's just normal.
Yeah.
But go out to dinner, she would want you to keep living. And that's what took me a long time to realize about. And I have to remind myself that my mom would want me to keep living. I've tried killing myself a lot of times, man. A lot of times. I failed. But it sucks.
And now we have a 5-year-old daughter that is starting to, and she's starting to understand it now that she has a sister in heaven. So we're coming to that point where we want to carry that tradition to her and see how she wants to incorporate it too. So
there's a wonderful book for your daughter. It's called The Little Prince, and it's a really good book. I went to a grief counselor, and it was written by it's a French author. But there was actually a movie they made with Gene Wilder and a little kid. and it's about a boy who it's a great, just to Google The Little Prince. It's a book. It's an amazing book, and it's a good way to show children to read for them to comprehend the death process.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. All right, Scott, what do you enjoy about doing your show? And but real quick, my deep condolences to you and your husband. I am sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've had a lot of friends commit suicide. I had I know a lot of transgender people. I had one that killed herself because of living in Arkansas and being bullied. So it sucks. All I'm saying is that, it's never the answer, but as far, you and your husband and your daughter hold on to it like that, because
our motto has just always been just keep swimming, and that's what keeps me going, and this podcast has helped me to share those feelings that I've had inside for almost 7 years now, and share it with somebody out there that hopefully, like we said, we can maybe touch one person every episode.
There you go.
So thanks for allowing me to talk about it on this
episode. Thank you for telling me. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of touching people, Scott.
Scott touches himself when he hears his voice on the podcast. Why else do you like the podcast, Scott?
Yeah, I love the sound of my voice. No, look, it's been a lifelong dream of mine to be in broadcasting of some sort. I've had some small stints here and there as a guest host on some radio shows. I've done some internet radio before podcasting was a thing. I love entertaining people. I love having this group of characters. There's 5 of us now. And telling a story, but through characterization. I love performing. So, this is kind of why I do this. The Wednesday night thing is just this huge bonus where now we get to entertain people and also touch some lives. Getting to learn more about Nick's life and living in the LGBTQ plus community and the things that he goes through and spreading awareness for that, is extremely fulfilling. And getting to interview celebrities is really cool, but getting to really know them and like the Jeremy Miller interview that we did, that is what kind of propelled this Wednesday night episode into what it is, because he was so real and he was so raw and so transparent. Yeah. Talking about some of the childhood trauma that we had or that he had. And it really kind of opened the door for us to explore some depth. And, we want to entertain people, but we also want to relate to some people who may be going through some things that they don't talk about. And to hear these people that they laugh at every Sunday night now talking about some real things, that's like super important to me and to all of us. So that's my short answer.
No, that's good. And then, this is all good.
Yep.
I wish there were more shows like you guys. I mean that, I dealt with a lot of shows, and I'm not going to say who they are. I wish them all good luck. Some of them are creeps. Some of them try to be Howard Stern. And then some just really take, pride in what they do. Scott, you take pride in what you do. You and I have talked a lot. Scott's really a mensch. He really is. We've talked a lot. And I'm going through a difficult time right now, but I don't know if I don't know the Twitch if hearing my story or our stories is going to mean anything to anybody. I hope it does, or who knows. What I'm saying is that for me, it's an honor to be on a show, because I don't like doing these. It's why I'm a horrible, I don't really do interviews that well.
You're gold. Are you kidding me?
No, but no, but the thing is that I'll tell you what, if right now is a weird time. I'm still doing what I do, but whoever sees or hears this, tell you what was, I'm sorry, what was your daughter's name again? What was her name?
Harper is the one that passed away, and then we have Piper.
Yeah, Harper, the one that passed away. The Ronald McDonald Charity, is that it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Can you make a donation in her name?
Yep. Yeah, we have a room that we adopt in her name, so we get it's $1,000 a year to have that plaque on the door and everything in her name. So we always raise money every year for it.
Okay, I'll tell you what. When's her birthday?
September 27th.
September 27th.
24th, sorry.
Okay.
24th, 27th is my anniversary.
And today is what? 31st?
August 30th.
Okay. My name is Steve Joyner, and if you donate $1,000 in your daughter's name, I will manage you and do PR for a year for free. That means I will book all these people on your show. I will book you on shows. Even if you wrote a book about a unicorn who sings, I'll put you out there.
Thank you.
Contact you guys for that. And if you sponsor No New Friends podcast or No New Friends After Dark, the same offer applies.
Awesome. Very cool.
And if you think I can't do it, ask Scott. So I like going. I like tripping out Scott because I'm like, Scott, you busy? No, you got to hold on real quick. Remember My Three Sons? Oh yeah, this is the guy who played Chip Douglas. Scott, I ambush people. Scott's been on the receiving end of that, right?
Oh
Scott,
yeah, when you put Eddie on the phone, I lost my mind. That was super fun.
So I'll tell you what, that's that. You can put it in there, but if I'm serious, you make a donation in her name, or if you sponsor, or do both, they'll let me know, and I'll make it worth your while.
Thank you. We love that.
Awesome.
Ah man, before I go on with my super long, I'm sorry, super short outro.
Well, I do have
never
some
a long
summary.
outro.
I do have some summaries.
Yeah, before I go into my super short, concise outro, like always, Scott, please, do you have some summaries for us?
I do. It's not a lot. It's always difficult to have summaries when we have a guest on because, I'm intently listening instead of tuning the two of you out like I normally do. Here we go. Okay. So Steve said that when he broke his leg, it was skinny, thin, and creepy. This is much like Chris's penis. Steve said that when he would hear Howard Stern's voice, he would turn off. When my wife hears my voice, she gets turned off. Steve talked a lot about meeting the Undertaker. If Chris doesn't start losing weight, he may meet a different Undertaker. Nick stayed quiet most of this episode, and that's because we talked a lot about wrestling, and Nick spent the entire episode Googling wrestlers to see them in their Speedo costumes.
And that's why I turned my camera off too.
Steve was talking about his Wilford Brumley story. I thought that I met Wilford Brumley one time. It just turns out it was just Chris being swollen from the diabetes.
Oh, you guys live in Florida. There's Wilford Brimleys everywhere. You don't need
Oh yeah.
Go to Costco any Sunday. You'll see Wilford.
I hope not.
Oh, they're always there. No, real quick. You guys go into Costco. There's always the old guy with the Panama hat and the shorts. I mean, and the damn shit.
Fedora,
Scott.
Yeah. And Chris, those are my summaries.
Oh, thank you, Scott. So before I get to my my very short outro, Steve, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been so great. Now in my as I do the I don't want to say journey into my very short outro.
Chris, hold on. I would tell you one last story. Can I?
Please. Oh, please, by all means.
You're a wrestling fan, okay?
Of course.
You know who Vince Russo is?
Vince Russo? No, I don't actually.
He was a writer for the World Wrestling Federation.
Okay.
You know who Jim Cornette is?
Right. Okay.
Jim Cornette in his will has it to where he has to pee on Russo's grave. There's a grudge. Vince Russo was a New Yorker who says bro a lot, and he did a lot of writing stuff. Well, I met him a long time ago through a guy named Stevie Ray, who was in a tag team called the Harlem Heat. Anyway, Vince didn't want to interview wrestlers. He wanted to interview people like you guys interview.
Okay.
And so I put Larry Hankin, Carl Gottlieb, and Bruce Valanche on Vince's program. And Vince, who has a very inflated ego, is all, Larry, I wrote wrestling. And Larry's all, oh, cool. He's like, were you any good? And he wrote it during a really bad time. And what's sad was he's trying to tell these guys, like, I wrote wrestling. They didn't give a rat's ass. I mean, it was bad because they didn't watch it, but this guy Vince was trying to put himself like, I did this, I did that. And they're like,
of course.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And Larry's all, well, okay, cool. He's not even like, oh my God. And anyway, but it was just funny because he was all jazzed up about it.
That's amazing. No big deal.
And then Carl said something like a question. What did he say? Carl's his English is amazing. You guys know, you interviewed him.
Yeah.
Carl says, I question the validity of a sporting event where men hit each other with steel chairs and not one bruise or blood happens. You know what I mean? Basically, like,
It's very true.
That's
Very true.
amazing. Steve, before I get into my again very short intro,
yeah, sorry.
is there or outro? Is there anywhere? So you are a PR guy. You can get interviews with people. Is there anywhere people can find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, I have a page called Thresher Public Relations.
Great,
it's like the
Thresher
shark.
Public
Thresher,
Relations.
yeah, that's it. And you know, I'm like Jesus. If you call upon me, I'll be there.
That is so true.
Hey, easy enough.
And yeah, the thing is, Thresher PR on Facebook, or you can always get a hold of us, No New Friends Podcast at Yahoo.
Get a hold of these guys. You know, sponsor these guys' show, then you'll find me.
Yeah, exactly.
Make
Exactly.
a donation
I'll put you
in this man's daughter's name, and you'll find me. I'm dead serious. You think I'm kidding? Anybody who sponsors a show, who hears my voice and makes a donation, Piper's name, I will handle you for a year. And if you don't think I can get you on the phone with someone you thought you'd never meet, try me.
Yeah, exactly.
You should see what I do to Scott. I'd be like, Scott, hey, have you ever met a dwarf that can juggle? He's like, no. I'm like, hold on.
Sign me up for that.
I got Scott on the phone with the guy that worked with the real Conjuring people, Ed and Lorraine Newman. Remember that, Scott?
Yeah, we're gonna have him on Thursday.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, you
tomorrow.
guys saw the Conjuring movies. Okay, you saw
I
the
just
movies.
did.
This dude hung out with them when the shit was really going on. He was there. So, I mean, a movie's a movie. This guy saw the stuff.
I'm gonna have him bring the demons out of Nick because I haven't been able to yet.
Yeah, we're excited about having him on tomorrow.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Gosh.
I'm sorry, I messed you up.
You're good.
Oh no, one
Steve,
can mess
Steve,
me up.
you
I
have
mess
no
myself
idea.
up.
Yeah, Chris is so bad at outros that it
Really
usually
bad.
takes him forever.
This will take 20
to get
minutes.
through
This
Yes.
will take 20 minutes. All right.
I'm sorry, Chris. I will.
What was I going to
Thank
say?
you. Yes.
So, Steve, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for opening up. You did mention you tried to take your life multiple times, and
Yes.
on behalf of all of us, and on behalf of the hundreds, if not thousands, of people that you've been in interactions with in your whole life, I everything happens for a reason. And thank God you're still around today, because just through this short time of talking to you, I have found that you're a genuine human being, and you're on this earth to serve a higher purpose than what you think. And being on the receiving end and getting these interviews and stuff, it's very cool. But knowing that the person behind the scenes getting these interviews is doing it because they're trying to help people. It's not like, like you said, it's more about making connections than anything else. That resonated with me. I think that was so cool. Steve, you're a genuine human being. I just want you to know that.
That's all you can be. That's all you can be.
This interview has been great. I loved hearing the humor. I loved hearing the realness. You've been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes,
Good.
thank you,
I
Steve.
got a hot cup of water here. I'm gonna go stick Eddie's hand in it when he goes to sleep.
Please record it for content.
Oh yeah,
Thank you, Steve.
Oh hey, take care, guys. Thank you.
you.
All.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
So there you have it. Thank you again, Steve, for joining us tonight. Steve is such an awesome human being. You'd never know behind the smile that he shows us on a daily basis that he'd have such a deep, very sad backstory. And that just goes to show that you don't know what anybody is going through until you talk to them. So I encourage you, reach out to your neighbor, reach out to your friend, talk to them, ask them how they're doing. That's what this podcast is all about. Email us. I don't give a shit. I'll talk to you about anything. Nick will talk to you about anything. Scott might charge you, but for me and Nick, we won't. But anyway, it's been another episode of No New Friends After Dark. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you again next week. Like Steve, you just kind of opened up to us tonight and said this happened to me, this, that, the other thing, right? There's people listening right now. And
hold on a minute. Hold
go ahead.
Can I interrupt you 1 minute?
Go ahead.
They want to ask what it's like living with me. Tell them what it's like living with me.
Oh, the legendary Eddie Deezer.
I'm on an interview.
Seriously?
They say want to say we get along good, right? We're the only
I'm
couple.
watching Superbad. It's great living with Steve. He got me Superbad from the library, one of my favorite
Oh my
movies.
gosh. I haven't seen that movie forever.
All right. See, I told you he's alive. Don't worry about it. No,
You didn't kill him yet. You didn't kill him yet.
I told him how we're like stepbrothers and stuff. Yeah. All right.
You guys
See
should
you tomorrow,
film a
pal.
movie. Speaking about Step Brothers.
You
Maybe
should
Step
film a
Brothers
movie.
2 with Steve Joyner
And do bunk
Amy
beds and everything.
Beaton. Oh my gosh.
No New Friends After Dark has been brought to you by Sandpiper Vacations. SandpiperVacations.com. Just check out our website, NoNewFriendsPodcast.com. Become a friend with benefits. Check out our sweet merch and so much more. This has been a No New Friends Entertainment LLC production.